Hey, how's it going, everybody? So, at first, I was going to make this a very official talk titled, When I Lost My Power. And I could turn it into that, but I decided that I'm actually going to go really raw with it for those who want to stick here in this transparency. I don't know how long it's going to be. So I just wanted to do this because what happened and the profound realization that I had actually came to me. I have been getting into chakras and chakra meditation, and I was actually meditating with a focus on the navel chakra, which deals with personal power, with courage, with your true personality, the sense of self, and is also very susceptible to negative energy, other people's energy, ego driven. So we'll notice a lot of times when we feel anxiety or anger or negative emotion, or even a lot of positive emotion that's just very intense, will be centered in that solar plexus area. And I felt that it was one of the areas that I do want to focus on because sometimes I feel, very strong in it, but I definitely do feel like there's a lot of areas where, like, man, like I could be a lot stronger. And so in this meditation, I just had this realization of, at some point, um, I lost my personal power, I feel like. And my belief is, I definitely believe in subconscious beliefs and subconscious programming. And I feel like there's a lot of times where things will happen to us when we are very young in age, and sometimes before we can even remember them. And in order for them to manifest into anything negative, some type of trigger needs to take place. So, for example, um, if there's a low self-esteem, I'm not enough, or I'm a failure type limiting belief that's going on in your subconscious, for example, but you have yet to be placed in a position where you're challenged, or where you would fail, then it may not be showing up as anything for you because you haven't been it hasn't been triggered yet. And so I'm actually going to read directly from my journal when I had this realization. And I'm not going to mention names. And again, like, this is all love to anybody. All of this has to do with my mindset at the time. And none of this was personal. This is all basically like a mirror reflection of me interpreting what's happening, like, and seeing it through the eyes of my own limiting beliefs. So, like, anybody that's referenced, if for somebody puts together pieces and, like, oh, this person is this, like, honestly, that this time in my life was actually some of the most eye-opening and fulfilling, and at the same time there was a lot of fun and love in it, and good relationships that were built off of it. So here we go. So like I just said to you, I decided to focus my meditation on my navel chakra, and I'm reading it now, that deals with personal power, self-esteem, leadership, true personality, courage, enthusiasm, relationships, etc. And it's heavily influenced by ego and receptive to negative energy and energy from others. Hours later, when I was driving, it came to me, the moment when I lost my personal power. Of course, what I realized is that self-limiting beliefs of not being enough were integrated into my subconscious at a very young age, which I had already had that realization. But here was the trigger that caused it to manifest and really shape my life and the things that happened to me after. As a kid, it's true, I often felt like I was different, and I didn't quite fit. But when it came to basketball, music, and academics, I was the shit. Hands down. I was confident on 100%, fun, free, and in my power. I can't even remember ever doubting myself. I was it. I was convinced I could ball up the high school boys and pretty much any girl. I sang to homemade tapes to boys that I liked, and as a way of expressing my feelings. This was actually really crazy because when I was younger, probably up until 6th grade or so, I used to take tapes and put those little pieces of paper in the cassette tapes and record over what was already there with either my own vocals to an instrument or a song that I wrote. And like, that was my love letter to crushes that I had in school. So yeah, like, and I was that confident to actually give that to them. So, you know, I started reading my mom's college psychology textbook that was actually confiscated for me in elementary school because I was too young. But rejection, failure, and the idea that I couldn't succeed or that anyone or could do anything to stop me didn't even cross my mind. And so the fact that I was different and didn't quite fit was kind of like, it was a non-factor. It was of no consequence. I was going to be a star at a time in my life where stardom equated to talent, fun, love, passion, role models, and before it became an association of falseness, self-sacrifice, corruption, discrimination, agendas, etc., right? So when did it happen? Crenshaw High School, freshman year. I was 13 and I was so excited. I was about to kill it in basketball, like Monica in Love and Basketball. It came out the year before. One of the reasons why I wanted to go to Crenshaw. And I was one of the hardest workers in summer conditioning, and really the only person that I felt at that time could run with me, except there was one particular player, and like, she was really cool. So, and she was an upperclassman, so I was just like, well, you know, that's how it should be. I'm good with that. And I was sure I would make varsity, and at first I did. There was a particular coach who, other than the head coach, who at the time was given reign to make a lot of decisions. I'm not going to say the names, but at that time he decided to cut a lot of different players, returning players, because of just certain circumstances and the attitude and things like that. But when the head coach came back and saw what had happened, it was this moment right here. This moment, I was livid because there were people that on varsity that I, at the time, like, I knew weren't better than me. And I saw it. I saw favoritism. I saw people being awarded and rewarded for inauthenticity. You know, the billboard for this treatment was a particular player where I'm just like, I mean, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but I just felt like it was like a manipulative playover of adults. And, you know, it was just like, this has nothing to do with basketball anymore, is what I'm feeling like. And what the person in charge initially had done by cutting all these people, a lot of people would think that was an asshole move, because, you know, you don't cut seniors generally. You know, there's certain people that, you know, it's supposed to be an etiquette or a thing that, you know, you give them that courtesy. At the same time, for me though, I think that in that there was like a such a degree of authenticity. And I could not articulate that at this time, but it's like, if someone believes in something so much and in the integrity of that they are willing to go against the grain and be hated for it, like, there is a sense of such realness in somebody that's willing to do that it's really funny, because I developed a crush on this particular individual in high school, and I think this is why. Like, it was me being able to attach to this. This was like the most authentic thing that was happening within my passions and within what I was going after at that time. And I just latched to that. But he wanted a team of hard workers and good athletes and people who took their academics seriously. Like, those were his values. And he cut the fat of the people that didn't fit. And I'm not saying, you know, whether that's wrong or right in totality, but the authenticity around having such strong beliefs and sticking to them, knowing that people will disagree with you, and you could even get in trouble for it. that was something to me. And but now I was at a point where after what had happened, um I was, just because I was a freshman and I was unknown at the time, I was put back on junior varsity. And I was at a point where I felt like my talent and my performance were somehow not enough to get me the spot that I deserved. And it was disingenuous to myself, but my like in order to suck up and be extra nice, like that was never me. Like I was tell it how it is, tongue in cheek, whatever. Like I felt like it was disingenuous to myself to be that person just so I could get a spot. And dealing in an arena that new to me, I was just feeling uncomfortable in my own skin because I felt like I was being pushed into doing something that had nothing to do with what I came there for. And, I felt stripped in the area where I was most confident. And seeing people rewarded for what I deemed to be as ingenuine, eventually the disappointment festered, and then again, the frustration. And this energy obviously couldn't exist without affecting my game. And even off the court, I can remember people commenting on my language and like the use of big words, and I spoke differently than most of my peers, and but I was an academic and I was a songwriter and I love to use language and to make it sound good. But it seemed that by being that and being my higher self, I wasn't fitting in. So in order to do so, I needed to suppress my higher self and dimming my light for others to feel more comfortable. We've heard that, right? And that what was needed in order for me to fit in. So essentially, who I am isn't good enough. So I have to water myself down. And to a degree, I did that. I'm about to go for chapter 2.